Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Our speaker tonight is truly, I think we could define him as a Renaissance man. He has 35 years of business experience. He is a Notre Dame grad, played varsity basketball at Notre Dame, is a member of the Monogram Club, is an author, is a producer of independent films, is currently the vice president of Keurig for corporate relations. Please put your hands together and welcome home Notre Dame's own. Ready? Put your hands together and welcome Chris Stevens.
Hello. So did I turn it on? Is it there? All right. I love movies, and Jerry Maguire is one of my favorite movies. I mean, I just walked around that lobby and didn't have a chance to spend as much time as I want to, but I'll see it more. I mean, you had me at hello. You had me at hello. Pretty amazing stuff. You all should be incredibly proud. I mean, just based on what I saw there, I mean, companies pay consultants hundreds of thousands of dollars for the type of quality work that you all produced this semester. So I don't even feel like I should talk here, but I'm going to anyway. I had a hard time sleeping last night. It reminded me of W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields, a great old comedian in the movie. Dr. Tavis, I think you and Sparky remember W.C. Fields. And he was with his Indian friend at the bar, and an Indian friend came down. He goes, "I couldn't sleep well last night. Have trouble with insomnia." "Oh, insomnia. I know a good cure for it." "Yeah. Get plenty of sleep." And so I'm running on a little bit of fumes here because I flew in very early this morning from Boston and drove down. But I didn't realize how important tonight was, actually. And I had the news on as I was driving, and I actually had a chance to record it. So let me see if I can play it for you here.
This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News, reporting to you live from South Bend, Indiana. The headline story out of South Bend today is not about the fact that Senator Richard Lugar was in town campaigning hard this week, and it's not about the Whirlpool Corporation's ribbon-cutting ceremony on its new $70 million facility in nearby Benton Harbor, but rather the big story comes from the campus of the University of Notre Dame. It seems as though the entire Foresight in Business and Society class has gathered to display their semester-long efforts of their amazing work at the Mendoza College of Business. Speculation is running wild as the students prepare to hear the keynote address from the shy Keurig coffee system pioneer, Chris Stevens. I'm standing outside of a jam-packed Jordan auditorium where scalpers are getting as much as $500 to get inside to hear his remarks. So that's the way it is Wednesday, May the 2nd, 2012. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News, reporting live from the campus of what I predict will be the 2012 football national champions, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
I tell you, pretty much, I don't know. It's pretty big stuff. I didn't think Walter was with us anymore, but I guess he's here in spirit. Again, when I take a look at what you've done, I think back to when I was a junior in college here, and I know we did engage in these kind of projects. So the ability for you all to be able to have the kind of foresight of your faculty to be able to create a course like this and to give you a chance to take you through it. Was it productive for you? I mean, this is good stuff. So, I mean, I said, I was blown away. And I thought about all the different lectures and stuff that you've had a chance over the course of the year to hear. You've had a chance to be able to see some people talk about some pretty amazing things, applying, I think, in many instances, foresight in business society as an example. And I had a chance to review some of the presentations, and I don't even dress for that game. I'm just a coffee guy from Boston. But I thought as taking a look at that, I mean, it's almost over. So I'm the last thing you got to deal with before you can kind of break out of here and get ready for the summertime and I guess final exams as well. I thought, what value can I add tonight? And I thought, well, I'll give them some free coffee and some treats. I'll give some stuff away. Bribes usually are pretty helpful. So we're going to give away some free brewers, coffee brewers at the end. Is that okay? Or is that all right? Is that what those tickets are for? And then I want to reinforce what you've learned here. And this is not going to be a monologue. I want some audience participation. So I actually looked at some of the names in terms of the sheets and stuff. So if you don't engage me, I'm going to call you out. I want to try to provide some perspective on branding, and certainly I'll utilize Keurig as an example. We're very, very blessed at Keurig to be able to have the kind of ride that we've been on. And then I want to kind of shift a little bit and just give you maybe a few tips for you to take forward this summer as you think about preparing for your senior year. And then I really want to encourage you to think about what your passion is, what your dreams are, and to lay a plan in action that allows you to be able to live your dream. Confucius said, choose a job you love. You never have to work a day in your life. If you pursue what you love, the happiness will follow and the money will follow. So with that, I thought about the art of possibility. And when I thought about foresight in business and society, I thought about Albert Einstein, who said, most people see what is and never see what can be. And I think about people who overcome incredible odds. My mom taught me at an early age that before I could achieve any accomplishment I want to, the first was to walk without braces, said multi-gold medal winning champion Wilma Rudolph. And Gandhi said, if I have a belief that I can do it, then surely I will acquire the capacity to do it. If you believe in something, you can lay out the path and allow you to be able to see you to your goals. And finally, we cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. So I thought, sometimes history is a pretty good thing to take a look at before trying to look into the future about what should you create. Let's think about what's happened and who's still here. And I was born in 1952. I'm so old, I don't even buy green bananas anymore. All right, but from my standpoint, I was born in 52, but I was a foster child and bounced around some homes, and I had this father I used to listen to, and I tried to catch some of the things that he said. And I remember this a long time ago, but he said, I'll tell you one thing, if things keep going the way they are, it's going to be impossible to buy a week's groceries for $10. Back in those days, you could buy groceries for $10 for a week. Have you seen the new cars coming out next year? It won't be long before $2,000 will only buy a used one. What's a car cost now? Much less to gas it. Did you hear that the post office is thinking about charging 7 cents just to mail a letter? I might think about it, though, still. What is it now, 9 cents or something like that? For 49 cents, they come to your house. They will pick it up in a little cart. They will then drive it to the station. They will organize it. They will then ship it via airplane or someplace across the country and deliver it 2 days later for 49 cents. I mean, if I'm running the post office right now, I take it up to $1 immediately. We turn that thing into a profit center. I don't know, but 1955 was 7 cents. If they raise the minimum wage to $1, nobody will be able to hire outside help at the store. That's what the minimum wage was back in those days, $1. When I first started driving, who would have thought that gas would someday cost 25 cents a gallon? Guess we'd be better off leaving the car in the garage. What's gas today, about $4 a gallon? Did you see what some baseball player just signed a contract for $50,000 a year just to play ball? It wouldn't surprise me if someday he'll be making more than the president. $50,000, that's what Joe DiMaggio signed a contract for. I never thought I'd see the day all of our kitchen appliances would be electric. They're even making electric typewriters now. Typewriters, that's what we use when we're here. We use typewriters, and they weren't electric either. It's too bad things are so tough nowadays. I see where a few married women are going to have to work to make ends meet. And then finally, it won't be long before young couples are going to have someone hire to watch their kids so they can both work. And I always loved how in those days everybody dressed up real nice too. I'm afraid the Volkswagen car is going to open the door to a whole lot of foreign business. There wasn't much foreign business in this country. Volkswagen came from Germany, and look at the amount of foreign business that's done here now. That fast food restaurant is convenient for a quick meal, but I seriously doubt it'll ever catch on. Mickey D's. My father-in-law knew Ray Kroc in Chicago. He worked for Shinette Paper Products, and Ray had this little hamburger stand, and he said, Tom, will you invest $5,000 because I want to start to expand this concept? And Tom said, no, I just don't have the money. I just can't do it. Why? Because he didn't believe in it. So he didn't give him the money, but Ray said that's okay. He understood. But he always still gave Tom McBride the Shinette paper plates business. Those trays, everything was all Shinette paper plates, and Tom at least had that business. There's no sense in going to short trips anymore for a weekend. It costs nearly $2 to stay on a hotel. And then finally, if they think I'll pay 30 cents for a haircut, forget about it. So times have changed, and I thought, what about 15 years ago, 20 years ago? Blockbuster video, did you think that they'd be almost out of business today? Oldsmobile, no longer a brand. Bear Stearns, no longer around. Lehman Brothers, Linens and Things, see ya. Borders Books, see ya. Hummer, Mercury, Pontiac, Saturn, Plymouth, gone. Herbal Essence Shampoo, which is what I use, gone. Carnation Breakfast Bars, see you later. Products and brands, to be sustained, you better be able to have the foresight to understand where the consumer is going and what the trends are. And I'm going to talk a lot about branding tonight. 15 years ago, to me, Google was one with 100 zeros behind it, right? That's what Google was. iMac, yes. iPhone, iPad, iPod, not yet. Amazon was the longest river in the world. Soul was a form of music, not a car. You can deal with this, or you can deal with that, sorry. SUVs were a suburban necessity. Wang Computers was still a multi-billion-dollar mainframe company. Polaroid and Kodak were still processing film and had their business was all based on selling film and processing it. The cloud was what I felt like after I had about 3 doers. Twitter and Facebook, no idea. I have no idea. I don't think they were even thought about by many people back in those days. And Folgers and Maxwell House, they dominated the category in coffee back in those days. So class participation time. Within the last 5 years, give me a brand that either has been developed, that's been launched within the last 5 years, that's a game changer in your mind, or give me a company or a brand that's turned it around from going down and been able to turn it around. Anybody? Give me a brand. I'll call your name. Yeah, oh, sorry. Say it again. Yep. Yogurt company. Anybody else? Yoga studios. Yeah. Chrysler turned it around. How about since 2008 when we had to bail out Ford and General Motors, and where are they today with the opportunity that they had? Come on, any other brands that have really hit it big in the last 5 years? You got to have something. Okay, yes. Android. All right, so yeah, so there's been some great products. So if you think about those, and think about which of those are going to be able to still be around in another 5 or 10 years, I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. Thanks for that class participation. That was very helpful. So Forbes and Market Probe said that some of these brands here are the ones that come to mind the most. Obviously, Groupon, JCPenney has turned it around in a big way. Smashburger, that's a hot new thing with Five Guys and all these other burger chains. They've kind of broken through. Obviously, Google, Apple, are you kidding me? $39 billion. Twitter, Bluetooth, Target has turned it around in a big way in terms of their imagery and how they do things. And Chipotle at a time, and they're really kind of making fast food healthy. Who would have thought, right? So Market Probe talked about brand passion as a key to success and really having a brand that will connect and be sustainable long term. And they talk about 3 different attributes. One, it's got to be connected to the consumer in terms of the emotion. The consumer's got to have a gut reaction that's positive to that brand. There's got to be attachment to that brand. They've got to feel like they're part of a tribe, that it feels good to be part of that brand. There's got to be harmony. That brand has got to be tied in with the values and lifestyles of the individual. And then it's got to be in terms of both thoughts and in terms of behavior. So in terms of developing a brand, as you think about looking out in 5 years, can anybody think of a category or right now that there's a real big void that, wow, we should develop something? Because some of you developed some ideas right here. Give me 1 or 2 things that you come to mind that you think could really be developed within the next 3 or 4 years. It could be a game changer in a category. Anybody? What about coal in China? Anybody? Where's that group? Okay. Right, so I mean, the things that you've been working on are exactly that, is trying to apply the principles that you've learned this semester to come up with different types of ideas. So if you think about different brands, they did a survey at Market Probe in terms of saying, what brands are you really passionate about? And on the left side, on the axis, is the usage, the percentage of people say that they use those brands. And on this side down here is how long you think that these brands are still going to be in existence. So somebody like Kmart or Kodak is Seal, this was before they went under, the perception was, 1, I don't go to them very often, and I don't think they're going to be around very long. Now, interestingly, take a look at Starbucks. Only about 40% say that they go to Starbucks, and some people are saying, we don't think that they may be around long enough, that long. There's not that much confidence there. Look at IBM. Only 10% use it now, and people thinking maybe only about half think that IBM's going to be around, although it was the largest computer program in the world, company in the world. Look at Google, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, not surprising. So in terms of being able to have a brand that consumers want to trust in and invest in and buy and get loyal to, they want to have confidence that you're going to be there long term as well. So Market Probe identified 10 top characteristics of brand makers. I think these are pretty right on target. One, understand the human element in their business, and they're not afraid to tap into emotions. They anticipate the future, staying true to their core, though. They're not afraid to admit and make mistakes, maintain a thread of consistency while evolving over time. I'll talk about an example about that in a minute. They aren't a follower of trends, but a creator building upon the needs of the customer before they even know that they need them. That, to me, says it all right there in terms of a brand. They aren't a follower of trends, but a creator building upon the needs of customers before they even know that they need them. Who would have thought that it would have been absolutely indispensable 5, 10 years ago that you'd have an iPod that you'd pay $100 for or something like that, and you'd be downloading music for $1 a song when you could listen to it free on the radio? Who would have thought that? But they looked differently at the world than we did, and created the need, created the value in that product that made it indispensable to consumers. Take the long view and don't fall prey to short-term price issues. That's pretty key. How many brands you see come out, and as soon as you see them in reduced price, 20% off, 15% off, that's usually a sign. If you can't sell at full margin retail, if you don't have a brand equity position in your brand, which means that you can offer marketing incentives to retailers to stock your product and to sell it, and if they sell it below a certain price where you believe that that brand should be sold because of its brand image and quality and value, you can stop selling that customer the brand. So if Walmart was on this program and they sold something low, we could choose to stop selling Walmart overall and it would be totally legal. So having a brand equity position is pretty key, but once you start discounting, the next move is to the closeout aisle. They know what businesses they are in. I've seen so many businesses develop something and they want to be bigger, better, faster. They grow, they expand, they try new products. They were in the coffee business and it's breakfast sandwiches, etc. You got to stay true to your core and know who you are. They've got to act like leaders, and they've got to create a culture of pride in their communities. So they've got to give back to their employees and their communities. And finally, they got to stay hungry and never be satisfied. I think about Sony. When Sony launched the Trinitron TV in their world headquarters, they had a big party on the first floor. And the lights were all on the 4 floors above that. And one of the reporters asked the president of Sony, how come I see that there's other people up there, why aren't they down here at the grand opening? He said, because those engineers are up there working to totally outdate this technology that we're launching today within 6 months. Never look behind you because somebody may be gaining, said Satchel Paige, and product development is that way. So I think you need foresight to sustain a brand. Market Probe said this too. Brands become great and remain strong over time by weaving themselves into the fabric of society, personally connecting in ways that transcend product features and anticipating and embracing an ever-changing world. They are the brands that stay around. So in my mind, I kind of thought about what is really foresight in terms of managing a business, managing a brand, managing a classroom. It is one, I think it's essential to the survival of a business. Some companies do it a lot better than others, and they've got certain ways that they have it structured I'm going to talk about. It's got to be in the DNA of the business model. There has to be dedication for you as an entrepreneur if you choose to get into your own business, or as an intrapreneur where you're working for a major corporation like a Procter & Gamble. There's got to be a system and a structure that encourages and rewards creative thought process. It's got to change the world. It changes as it changes the world. It's got to be realized through customer intimacy. I can say one thing. Those companies that do it best are so connected to their consumers. They're constantly talking to consumers about what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and what features they would rather have or they'd rather lose from a product or a service that they're offering. It's got to be 2010 vision both backwards and forwards. And you've got to be able to create and fill the needs of tomorrow. So I also think it can be applied to all aspects of your life. And I was going to say that there's been some good books written about business problem solving. And Viva Bartkus and Ed Conlon have written one. And I want to read you a quote here because they also talk about the integrity in problem solving. If you have a brand, people know if you're being honest or you're not being straight with them. They can sniff it in a heartbeat. Success in solving problems depends on integrity. Absent values, solutions tend to be based on weak standards and unguided by established principles. To general managers facing complex business challenges, we suggest examining one's own personal values often and making them as explicit as possible to colleagues. Diligently and frequently explore one's organization and community's norms. The foundation of the effective discovery of solutions and their implementation is a thorough consideration and embrace of meaningful values. Your brand has got to stand for something, and your company has got to stand for something, and consumers need to hear it and see it. Lou Holtz once said, when all is said and done, more is said than done. So you've got to show that in terms of your actions. Keurig, we were born of a dream, and I think foresight. And we were 4 of us in a watch factory in Waltham, Massachusetts 16 years ago with an idea and a dream that we could change the coffee world one perfect cup at a time. We had some venture capital money that we had behind us. We invested ourselves, sold the house with 5 kids, traded down to a smaller house. It reminded me that if I was going to do this after running major companies for a while, that I really need to be committed. It kind of reminded me of the story of the guy sitting at breakfast, and he's looking at his breakfast, and it's eggs and ham. And he thought to himself, now the chicken was involved in this breakfast. The pig was committed. And I thought, I can either be involved in this or committed to it. And so I made the commitment. And there are many times where we almost failed. And we heard the word no a lot. Just remember this in life. No is not no, I don't want to buy from you. No is a no, I don't want to date you. No means you haven't given me enough reasons to say yes. No is an invitation to a dialogue. When the buyer says no, that's when the sale begins. Well, no because you think this is not fitting with your brand strategy. No because you think it's too expensive. Tell me more. And it's an invitation to a dialogue. No because you think I'm a big fat dumpy guy and you don't want to date me. I get that, okay? Or at least I understand better. All right. This guy, he lived this. He gave me a tip, and he lived it. He lived it big when I went to him in 1996 with thinking about going to Keurig. Anybody recognize who this is? Tom Stemberg, the founder of Staples. Tom Stemberg was a buyer at Star Markets in Cambridge, Massachusetts. That's where I met him when I was with Procter & Gamble. Huge basketball fan. I told him I played ball. Boom, I got any ad I wanted. He was just like one of these just really big basketball fans. So we stayed connected over the years. He went down to First National Supermarkets in Connecticut and started the big board, the box store concept, warehouse stores, pretty cool. Left there and then wanted to start something. And so he and a gentleman named Leo Kahn took a look at different industries where there was an opportunity and a void. And he opened the first Staples store on Soldier Field Road in 1986. So I said, Tom, dude, you did it. I'm looking at this thing in terms of Keurig, single cup brewing, et cetera. What do you think? He said, the key to entrepreneurial success is to find a big category where there is a void in a product or service, such that if you can fill that void with a product or service and you work as hard as you can for the next 5 years, you don't have to work again for another day of your life. It's got to be, is it big enough? And I thought, let me think about that. So our premise was it was the coffee category. It was a multi-billion-dollar category. But the question was, why were people brewing a coffee a pot at a time, but drinking a cup at a time? I mean, how many times would you go to a nice restaurant and have a great meal, and it's time for the coffee, and they either say, oh, I'll have to put a fresh pot on you for you, right? Which means they took the pot that was there and threw it down the drain, or maybe not. Or you got a cup of coffee that was nowhere near the same quality as the coffee that you were drinking. And I thought, gosh, we did a due diligence looking at the offices. 85% of all office coffee was being given away for free. And yet people were still leaving the office, going downstairs, 7 flights, going down the corner Starbucks to get their freshly brewed Starbucks, or over to the Dunkin' Donuts, or the Caribou Shop, or the Timothy's. People were leaving and paying $1.50 because they wanted freshness, they wanted variety, and they wanted an experience. So we thought, okay, there's issues there in that category. And those issues were waste, cleanup. You know, somebody comes in and starts to make a pot in the morning, and they're really impatient, so what do? They start to make the pot because no one's made it. And then as soon as the coffee flows, they put their cup under there. take their 8 ounces, and then they put the pot back, and then people get the rest of that. Well, all the meat of the coffee's in that first probably 8 to 20 ounces. So there was no control over coffee. And we thought, wow, why don't we see if we can control the entire brew process until the consumer actually gets that coffee? So the answer we had was Keurig, coffee house taste by the cup, bringing the quality of a coffee house into the work environment. And when we did, and I took 12 brewers and 40 cases of handmade K-Cups and drove my SUV down to New York City on Martin Luther King Day 14 years ago and started banging on doors. I brought cookies, biscottis, tablecloth, napkins, chocolates, flowers for the ladies. Coffee house environment. It was the closest thing to having a keg party I could have at the office. And so what we did is we changed the process. As opposed to thinking about the pot of coffee, they're thinking about what they would spend if they went to Starbucks for the same experience. So we created demand in terms of offices where we got trial every single day of people going, oh my gosh, I drink regular, my husband drinks decaf, my daughter drinks hazelnut. I would love to have this for my home. So we took all that feedback and did some survey, and then we ended up working on the at-home business. So our strategy and our target was the 56% of the population that drank coffee, and we wanted to go for the upscale people because it was going to be a higher price cup of coffee and brewer. And our strategy was to address the offices first, create the demand for the home. We were venture capital backed. We had a 4-year exit strategy. It took 6 for us to break even. And we actually ended up having to sell the company because one of our VCs had some financial issues, and they managed a pension fund, and so they had to liquidate it for the benefit of the other pensioners. So the home launch was 5 years later, and our exit strategy was to market the company. We sold it for 160 times earnings to Green Mountain Coffee Roasters in 2006. So in terms of taking a look at the consumer, what she wanted, we tried to create a product benefits that was, one, it exemplified excellence and quality. Keurig stems from the Dutch word meaning neat, clean, or excellent, but it means great coffee in any language. So but we wanted to have some panache to it, you know? So Keurig, we kind of settled on Keurig because we said, Keurig, dude, what is that? Keurig? What is that? It made people stop, think, ask questions, engage them in conversation, and educate them about the brand. It was simple, convenient, no waste, no cleanup, no hassle. And then the experience for the consumer became when she became passionate about this product. And our target consumer really has ended up about 65% of all our brewers right now. We sold 1.4 million brewers in the last quarter. We just had an earnings call at 5 o'clock today. Our key consumer is average income about $90,000 a year. She's 25 to 54 years old, better educated. She cares about society. She's passionate. She's taking care of her Alzheimer's parents. She's also taking care of her kids, and she may be working a job and volunteering at the same time. She's very engaged. The simple pleasures in life mean something to her. So as we think about constructing a signature cause program for her too, it's important that we understand what's important to her too, and you'll see that coming from us in the near future. But it's about self-discovery and passion, and so many decisions in life are made around a nice warm cup of coffee. So you'll see that in a lot of our imaging. So 14 years after the launch, we're now the #1 coffee brewer in America. Not just single cup, #1 coffee. It used to be Mr. Coffee and Cuisinart. Now it's Keurig and then Mr. Coffee and then Cuisinart. Our last 12 months prior to this earning call, we did about $3.2 billion, up 95% on a 151% increase in earnings. I'm only telling you that not to say, wow, look at my scrapbook, but rather to say, you need to be ready when your ship comes in. We have a lot of future forecasting. Packaging lines have got to be ordered a year out. We have packaging lines in different parts of the country. We're introducing new technologies. So from a planning standpoint, some of the ideas that you've come up with, I was curious as I was looking around, I thought, how easy is that to execute? How much research is going to be needed? How much capital is going to be needed to make that come alive? You have to take all those things into consideration, because if you've got to invest a lot in capital before you start getting return, then your investors and your bankers better understand that right up front. We're now we estimate anywhere from 10 to 12 million homes with Keurig, and we actually partnered with Breville, that has a brewer in Williams-Sonoma, and Bloomie's, like $249.95. They're a Canadian manufacturer, high-end clients. We have Mr. Coffee now has a brewer at Target and Walmart and Kohl's, $99. And then Cuisinart's got one around $199 that is also in Williams-Sonoma, Macy's, and places like that. It's a razor blade strategy. So we really don't care what the razor is if they take the K-Cups, because we're not making a lot of money on the brewers ourselves, so we're indifferent. If the consumer says, I love Cuisinart, the brand, I got Cuisinart blenders, etc., I want a Cuisinart brewer that makes K-Cups, go for it. So that's a nice part of our strategy, that we're reliant on the K-Cup for our revenue stream. We have some patents that are expiring in September 16th, 2012 on the K-Cup. There's been some discussion and dialogue about that. Intellectual property in your dream and your idea that you come up with has got to be king or queen. IP is where it's all at. If you develop the right idea and get it patented, companies will pay just sometimes for that idea and patent just to take you out because they view that being so important. So for us, intellectual property, we got over 100 patents. We have a couple expiring. So one of the things you see us focusing on right now for K-Cup pack business is Keurig brewed. See TV advertising about, hey, it's Keurig brewed. So we figure if it stays in the family, then when we get people that try to knock it off with interloper K-Cups or different types of inferior quality brands in the future, people will come back to Keurig. And we've got some lawsuits and stuff against some companies that have come out early. We licensed Folgers, Starbucks, and Dunkin' Donuts all now have K-Cup varieties. And so we have all the major brands we really wanted under our fold, under our tent, as our K-Cup patents are expiring. Our new goal is a Keurig on every counter and a beverage for every occasion. Remember I talked about a brand that's got to be able to always take a look at your current business, maintain who you are, be happy with what you have while you pursue what you want tomorrow. And that's the way it is for the brand too. So with us, we're saying, hey, now we got hot cocoa, we got tea, we got cider. We're looking at all kinds of other products that would be complementary to that as well. So where do we go from here? Bigger, bolder, better. We just launched our next generation brewer called Keurig View. Different portion pack, different intellectual property covered until 2021. Makes the coffee bigger sizes, bolder, stronger. You can change temperature, brew strength, et cetera, which you can't really do in the K-Cup brewer. That package itself, certainly this is what is on a lot of people's minds. Dude, the K-Cup makes a great cup of coffee. I don't like the trash element, right? It's not environmentally friendly. We've been working night and day, I will say, to try to be able to address the environmental impact of the K-Cup, and we are making a lot of progress on this. Unfortunately, right now, there's no packaging material out there right now in the free world we know of that can stand up to 195 degrees pressure in terms of brewing, 3.5 pounds of pressure, create an oxygen barrier environment for 9 months where we can make sure the quality of this coffee stays the way it is and have it be photobiodegradable. But so we're looking at all kinds of other ways to make this better. But in the meanwhile, this system utilizes polypropylene, which is recyclable about 55% of landfills facilities in America. And if you peel off the coffee, you can use that for grounds or that type of thing for fertilizer, that type of thing, and then you can recycle the K-Cup. So it's got some advantages to it. And we make more beverages than we did before, lattes I mentioned. So you'll see some View, anybody see any View TV commercials yet? We're just kind of starting the TV commercials. But again, getting into different things. We now do brewed over ice. So any golfers here? All right, what's an Arnold Palmer? Right, lemonade and iced tea, right? We got a K-Cup that if you brew this right into a 16-ounce tumbler full of ice, it'll make you the best Arnold Palmer, at least that I've ever had. And then sweet tea, raspberry tea, et cetera. So we're getting into cold brew beverages as well. A Keurig on every counter, a beverage for every occasion. So part of what we do also is give back. And the company's 31 years young, and every single year, good times and bad, we give 5% of all of our profits back towards corporate social responsibility initiatives. The poor, the hungry, fair trade. We're the largest purchaser of fair trade coffees in the world, which means we pay a premium for those coffees so that the plantation owners and growers can have a better standard of life. We uncovered a phenomenon called Los Meses Flacos, the thin months, where in Guatemala, Nicaragua, and some of these other countries, Costa Rica, and Rwanda, Sumatra, that after the growing season is over, these people can't feed their families. They have to then ration food, and so we then develop programs to help them grow alternate products, educate them, different types of things that they can, basket weaving, whatever it is they can do to sustain themselves. So we're a capitalistic society. This country runs on commerce. And if business does not take care of the less fortunate and the needy, then the government has to try to do it. And when the government does that, you end up with the deficits of things that we've got here that we're all haggling over right now. So I think if business steps up more, when I think about Microsoft right now, I don't think about Bill Gates. I don't think about Microsoft. I think about the foundation that he's created, $36 billion doing good in the world, trying to eradicate HIV and things like that. Those are the kinds of things that businesses need to be involved in. Lee Tavis, who's here tonight, Professor Emeritus in Finance here at Notre Dame, he and I are involved in a project at the place called the Fetzer Institute. Have you heard of the Fetzer Institute? It is in Kalamazoo, Michigan, a gentleman named John Fetzer, who made his fortune in radio and communications in the early days. who's actually the owner of the Tigers when they won the World Series in '68, left $400 million to create an institute whose mission is to foster awareness of the power of love and forgiveness in the emerging global community. You think, well, when love and forgiveness, what do you mean? And I think, he was a disciple of Gandhi and of Martin Luther King. I mean, we carry around with us sometimes so much anger because we're still upset at a brother or a mother or a sister, or we're still upset at somebody who had harmed us when we were younger. And to be able to forgive and let go creates energy and the opportunity to be able to have space to do something more positive in your life. So there's been 16 councils that have been structured. One's called the Business Professions. There's law, legal, there's humanities, science, and medicine, NGOs, and there's several people from here in Notre Dame that join us in this effort. And we're all going to meet in Assisi, Italy in September, and we're going to have this webcast worldwide, and hold up the finest examples that we can go out and find in the world where love and forgiveness is actually being practiced in our channels. So Lee and I and others, Matt Bloom, who's here too, is on our council. Dave Murphy from Esteem is on our council. We're trying to find companies out there who are living and breathing and really, really doing good in the world in terms of love, but also being able to help those who've been harmed in some way be able to recover, get back on their feet, and move forward. So pretty proud of that, and that's just kind of part of what we do, but I think it's part of what every company ought to do as well, because no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted, said Aesop. The path to successful new products. One of the latest McKinsey quarterly letters said, keep it focused, nurture a project culture, and talk to the customer, not dissimilar than what we saw before. This gentleman also, in terms of Reliance Industries in Mumbai, India, his way to be able to manage new products and innovation stuff is conceptualize, anticipate, analyze, and align. Make sure that there's alignment within the group. Plan and prioritize, and then execute. And to do the first three sections, you really need thinkers. You need to analyze, analyze, analyze. Because it's very easy to be able to analyze things, make a snap decision, start moving forward, and have unintended consequences because you didn't think about the other contingencies that might be out there. When we first launched Keurig, we almost made some big, big boo-boos. We actually had spent money on tooling for a second different K-cup that would only be used in the home brewers, where the commercial brewer would use a different K-cup. And what happened was that our commercial business has gotten so big that people could bring those into the office and go back and forth. We would have created chaos. And we had to write off tooling because it ended up being the wrong decision. Even though we'd already gone and sold it to the board of directors, we had to backtrack. So, can you create a memorable brand? Anybody want to get into marketing here? Brand advertising, like that? When you get it? How about this? What brands are these? We'll leave the line on for you. What brand? Motel 6, okay. You're going to like the way you look, I guarantee it. Come on, who's that? You're going to like the way you look, I guarantee it. How many packs of Camels does he smoke a day? How about blank? Made from Rocky Mountain Waters. This is Coors beer, made from Rocky Mountain Waters. Ram tough. Made from the best stuff on earth. Who's that? Snapple. You're in good hands with? Allstate. Blank. Let's build something. Lowe's. That was easy. Staples. Want to get away? Southwest. Stay thirsty, my friends. I don't drink beer often, but when I do, I prefer this like this. You can deal with this. I can't do it. Oh my God, man. So you can deal with this. What brand? Kia Soul. The best part of waking up is? And choose, brew, enjoy. That's what I'm talking about. So 16 years ago, again, we had a dream, and today I mentioned we're blessed to be living it. And I just want to kind of transition to some thoughts about your dreams. There's three kinds of people in this world, in the business world. There's people who make things happen. There's people who watch things happen. And trust me, there's people who wonder what happened. And to make things happen today, you've got to move quickly, but you've got to make things happen. Not just in terms of business. I'm going to talk about this as it applies for you next year, interviewing for companies and making it happen there. To realize your dream, if you want to do it in business, there's a lot of different things you've got to do that you can learn right here at Notre Dame, and I hope you're taking advantage of all of it. Time management and planning, overcoming adversity, team building, all the stuff. I'm sure that in your different sessions with your groups in this class, I'm willing to bet that you partnered up with people with complementary skills, yes? As opposed to 3 marketing guys getting together. You had 2 marketing guys and an IT guy, right? Right? Partner with people who have complementary skills. Diversity, it's what it's all about. being different, engaging, and appreciating that differences. One of the things I'm also going to tell you is that each of us has a responsibility to get into the middle schools and the high schools and to mentor young people. The social pressures that are on them today in terms of the bullying, Phoebe Prince, I could tell you all kinds of stories, it's just horrible. So, we're all different, and the reason that this world works is because we're different. So embrace that, celebrate that, and partner with somebody who's different, because trust me, if two partners always agree in business, one of them is unnecessary. All right, so get with somebody who's got some complementary skills. So I would submit to you, and I'm sure some of you might have been here in the session that I did back in September, why do you think most new businesses fail? Anybody? I know it's late. It's Battalion Death March. Stevens is going to. Now, I know the mind can only absorb what the rear end can endure, so stay with me. Why do most businesses fail? Yes, sir. They don't have enough sales? They don't make themselves okay and disposable. Why else do businesses fail? They're not tracking their finances. Why else do businesses fail? They don't plan for the future. Any other reasons? I would submit to you that it's because they don't have enough sales. They didn't sell enough to stay in business, because nothing happens till somebody sells something. So if you don't have the ability to be able to sell and the communication skills yourself, you better partner with somebody who's got the gift of gab and communication skills who can make it happen. And trust me, this coming year, when you're interviewing, you're going to be selling. Selling is an art. It's a learned skill. All right? And if you think about it, look at all these CEOs. What do you think these CEOs all have in common? Who we got up here? Anybody? Lloyd Blankfein. Goldman Sachs. Who else? Oprah. Howard Schultz. Puff Daddy. 50 Cent. Steven. Anybody recognize the top guy? Sheldon Adelson has made more money on this planet since 2008 crash than anybody else. CEO of Sands Hotels and Casinos. So what do you think these people have in common? According to MSN, these people all came from desperate circumstances, dire circumstances, from poverty to rise to the level that they did to be successful. Life is not in holding good cards, gang. It's in playing well those you are dealt. Not everyone is fortunate to be able to have a Mendoza and a Notre Dame education. So whatever opportunity and dream that you want to be able to go after, you can do it if they can do it with what they did. So if you think about Steve Jobs, chairman of Apple, we all know it from that, but did you know he went to Reed College, only went for one semester, quit, was sleeping on buddies' floors, auditing classes on his own, living in homeless shelters, used to walk 7 miles to Hare Krishna Temple for a free meal, all right? And then started in 1976 Apple with Steve Wozniak. Got fired in 1985 by the company that he started. Management style, leadership, whatever it was, okay? You read his book. But the point is that they brought him back 10 years later because they needed him. And you think that maybe some of the difficulties he went through in his childhood and his early years helped prepare him to be able to go through the difficulties, to be able to step back in and take the leadership of that company, and look what's happened. All these other people, Oprah, born into poverty in Mississippi, raised in Tennessee. She found her passion of radio at the age of 17 or 18 and started getting on the radio. She found a way out of her circumstances, all right? Sheldon Adelson was born in Dorchester, Massachusetts, the son of immigrants, and was able to rise up in the casino business. Ursula Burns, born in a project, is now CEO of the Xerox Corporation. Sean Puff Daddy, raised in a Brooklyn project, now producer, billionaire. Howard Schultz, raised in a Brooklyn project. John Paul DeGioia, who started Paul Mitchell salons, he was a janitor. He was sweeping floors. Lloyd Blankfein, raised in Brooklyn project, CEO of Goldman Sachs. Chris Gardner, anybody see Pursuit of Happiness? All right, and now he started Gardner Rich Investments, okay? And then Puff Daddy, shot 9 times, was a drug dealer at the age of 12, and still has been able to find his way to do what he's doing. So I'm willing to bet that they were able to sell their dreams. So if you think about it, in your senior year, however many courses that you're taking, add one more course in communication. Learn how to talk. Learn how to be convincing. Learn how to organize your thoughts. When I was walking around, I said, what's your elevator speech? Give me the Cliff Notes. And some people, well, I'm not really sure. Think about and anticipate. How many of you have business cards on you right now? You're juniors. Business cards? Anybody else? Business cards? All right. You're old enough now, your senior year, you all need to have business cards. You never know when you're going to get on the elevator with Bill Gates. You never know if you want to get in the entertainment business, but all of a sudden Oprah's going to walk through your door. And you better be able to respond and say, hey, yeah, nice to meet you, and here's my card. All right, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just a Notre Dame business card. Let people know who you are, because that is part of selling. So take the time to focus on it, to work with your friends and to get better at it. And gang, you need to lose the word like in every other word in every sentence. So then I was like, then I had this great project, and I was like, it was an incredible. So we got on this project because I was like, and then I was like, you got to stop, because when you do that, trust me, it will turn your people off in the interview that are interviewing you. And that's important. So think about organizing your thoughts and have people challenge yourself to do that. Anybody recognize this guy? Joe Girard. The path to success is rarely a smooth one. Born in Detroit to an Italian family, his father used to beat him all the time. Started shining shoes when he was 9 years old. Started delivering papers when he was 11, I think. Kicked out of high school. Kicked out of the Army. Bounced around a few jobs. Got married. Started to have a family. At the age of 35, he could not feed his family. Got a job in a car dealership because he thought the gift of gab. Was there for about a couple of weeks, sold 2 cars, and then was fired. Because in a car dealership, you know how that works. You got senior guys and gals, whatever, that they get the customer that comes in, and they get to work him. Then the next person, well, Joe, when it was his turn, he sold both of his customers. And they got jealous and got him fired. So he thought, I got something here. I can do this. He went to another car dealership and convinced them to hire him. And he said, I won't take one person off the floor. I will bring them in the door. And Joe Girard went on to become the #1 salesman in the world of big-ticket items, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. He sold 13,001 cars. He averaged 6 new car sales a day, 21 in one day, and he did it 1 car at a time, no fleet sales. And you know how he did it? Customer intimacy. If you knew Joe Girard, if you met Joe Girard, if you bought a car from Joe Girard, if you met him at a cocktail party, you got a card from him handwritten every single month. Christmas, birthday, anniversary, Easter, Ramadan, Hanukkah, July the 4th, your son's birthday, your wife's graduation date. I mean, Joe Girard found a way to get to know you so you knew and you developed a relationship with Joe Girard. I love companies and brands right now that follow up with me after I bought something from me. Business is like golf. It's the follow-through that counts. All right? So what's your pitch? How are you going to sell yourself? I would suggest that you think about the Procter & Gamble persuasive selling format. Summarize the situation, state the idea, explain how it works, reinforce the key benefits, and suggest an easy next step. So when I was trying to get new distributors on who they were making 50% profit margin on bagged coffee. They were only paying about $450 for a brewer. I wanted them to buy a brewer for $950 and pay 5 times per cup for the coffee that they're paying now. And so here was my pitch. Hi, Mr. Distributor. I'm Chris Stevens. We've developed a new coffee brewing system that's a single cup brewing system where we brew coffee 1 cup at a time, featuring Green Mountain Coffee Roasters products. Let's summarize the situation. I'd like for you to become a distributor of our products right here in the Metro New York area. Here's how it works. We're going to sell you the brewers for $995, and we're going to sell you the coffee for 25 cents per cup. You're going to go out into the marketplace, and you're going to get a rental on that brewer where you don't get one now, so you'll get rental income of about $40 a month. You'll sell the coffee at 50 cents a cup to offices, and you're going to make 25 cents per cup gross profit as opposed to the 4 cents per cup that you make right now. And then that's how it works, and then the benefit. So you get the idea. So I try to structure in a way, so when you think about your pitches, when you're talking to different companies, et cetera, think about organizing yourself in a way that it is clear. And at the end of the presentation, I would say, I've got 2 brewers in my car and a bunch of coffee. I was wondering if we could go to a couple of your customers so I can demonstrate the product for you, and let me show you what their reaction is going to be. Suggest an easy next step. You want to set some objectives? Set some this summer. They ought to have a nice criteria. They ought to be specific, measurable, achievable, and compatible. It could be, I want a job with a company where I can grow and make a lot of money. That's nice. Is it something that you can measure? I mean, how are you going to know you arrive someplace when you get there? How are you going to arrive if you don't know where you're going? So be specific. How about, I want to secure a job offer from at least 3 of my top 5 company choices with a starting salary of at least $65,000 annually by 2001, 2013. Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it compatible or achievable? If you do that and write it down, you have a plan then that you can walk on, somewhere that you can build on. I think about when I was working for P&G, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Cincinnati, Boston. I found out that P&G doesn't stand for Procter & Gamble, it stands for Pack and Go. So I was in Boston, and my next move was back to Cincinnati. And my college roommate came out from Los Angeles and had dinner. And I could tell he wasn't really happy, and I didn't want to move back to Cincinnati, and we were both kind of struggling. I didn't want to sell more soap. Love P&G, love the company, but I just wanted to change. And he was kind of the same way. I said, I got an idea, Jerry. I'm going to write down on a piece of paper exactly where I want to be, what I want to be doing, and how much money I want to be making 2 years from tonight. You do the same thing. We're going to seal them in an envelope. 2 years from tonight, I'll come to Los Angeles. We'll have dinner out there. We'll open up the envelope. Whoever did the worst job has got to buy dinner. You in? He said, absolutely. I was galvanized that night that I was not going to lose to Jerry Samaniego. So I ended up leaving Procter & Gamble, became president of an Anheuser-Busch distributorship, which was kind of fun being in the beer business. I used to come back here at college reunions and stuff like that, 5-year reunions, 10-year reunions. Hey, Chris, what do you do? I'm an investment banker. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. Chris, what do you do? I said, I'm in the beer business. Come to think of it, I'm the only guy who actually pursued his college major. So I ended up being at Anheuser-Busch and then United Liquors, and then I got into the coffee business. But think about developing goals, and then think about somebody that you can partner with, that you can have some ownership in those goals. When you go to an interview, what do you bring with you? Portfolio. You saw it, right? All right. Think about the stuff that you've got out there in the lobby. Are you kidding me? I have people coming to me with interviews, all right, that have got a great resume, and they come in with a piece of paper, maybe a pad, maybe they're going to take some notes, maybe they got a few questions designed for me. That's good to have too. Develop a portfolio, a nice leather binder, personalize it. Mr. Lee Tavis, Notre Dame, May the 2nd, 2012. Chris Stevens, a current profile. So I have the Notre Dame logo there. So if I'm going and I'm interviewing with Lee and I want the job as being dean of the business school, by gosh, I want him to know I care about it. Then you have your resume and an acetate there, and then chronologically going back in time. Examples of work that you've done, letters of recognition that you've received, your All-America certificate, your Phi Beta Kappa, whatever it may be, so that you can show people, Excel spreadsheet, a PowerPoint, empirically, so that when the guy asks you a question, can you tell me a time when you had to use persuasion to blah, blah, blah? Can you tell me a time where you had to sell an idea that you weren't really wild about? Well, yeah, let me show you. And then you take this thing out and you put it on the table. And the first thing he sees is his name. And the sweetest thing to a person's eyes is their own name and his company logo. And his immediate thought is, what is this? And then you flip to what you want him to see. Now, what's he going to want to do? He's going to want to see what else is in that book. Now, who's in control of the interview? Now you're selling. I can give you 2 emails I got in terms of one person from the business school here that had an interview with L.L. Bean, and he did the portfolio thing. He had 5 interviews. He personalized the portfolio for all 5 people. He got a job offer that afternoon. So I'm just telling you that it works. So do a portfolio. And if you want examples, I'd be happy to give them to you. When you do land your dream job, follow his advice. Anybody recognize who this is? Some of the more senior people can chip in if they want to. Schwarzkopf, General Norman Schwarzkopf. He was head of the operations in the first Iraq war. So I went and heard him speak one time, and he was talking about the fact, he said, I'm a general, and I've done some wonderful things, and he was retired at that time. And he said, I'll tell you what was really taught me one time. He said, I was actually head of the European theater, and then I got promoted to running the Pentagon, all the administration in the Pentagon as part of my career development. So when I got there, my boss, the general, who was in charge, 2 days after I got there said, Norm, I'm heading to Vietnam to do our tour of duty down there and see the troops. I'll be gone for 2 months. And so he said, well, I'm fine, General, but I got so much here that I need to learn. Well, then follow rule number 1. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't know what that is. When placed in command, take charge. I understand, sir, but we've got lawsuits in terms of EEO lawsuits and things like that I'm not familiar with. Then follow rule number 2. What's that, sir? Do the right thing. When you get into the business world, you're going to be challenged, all kinds of things. You're going to be on that treadmill trying to get to the top, et cetera. You're going to have a voice that whispers to you a lot, and it still does today. Should you be texting and driving when you're driving? Do you really want to have that last libation before you leave the party? Listen to that voice inside you because it whispers softly, so listen very carefully. But always, when it comes down to it, what's the right thing to do? And that's something that I've tried to do throughout my life. You're also going to fall down. I love this quote from Michael Jordan. I've missed more than 9,000 shots, lost more than 300 games, and have been entrusted to take the last shot 26 times and missed. I have failed over and over again, and maybe that's why I succeed. It's not how far you fall that counts, it's how high you bounce back. How about this gentleman, over 26 years? Lost his job, defeated for state legislator, failed to start a business, his sweetheart died, had a nervous breakdown, defeated in an effort to become the speaker. He lost the nomination, rejected in an effort to become a land officer, defeated again for the Senate, defeated in a nomination to become vice president, again defeated for the Senate, and then 2 years later, Abraham Lincoln became probably the greatest president we've ever had. When the buyer says no, that's when the sale begins. So it's a matter of trying to continue to work and develop yourself to be the best that you can be. So it's a fact that we're all going to fail. Dolly Parton said it great. She said, to enjoy the beauty of a rainbow, sometimes you got to put up a little bit of rain. Anticipate that you're going to have setbacks. I see couples getting angry at each other when people are driving, they get cut off, and they get crazy and they're chasing. Stuff's going to happen. Stuff's going to happen. Anticipate that and be prepared for it, okay? Successes will feed your egos. Trust me, setbacks will build your character. So I just love some quotes on some dreams. Marianne Rodmacher, stand often in the company of dreamers, for they believe that you can do impossible things. Let your dreams bind your work to your play. Tallulah Bankhead said, once the secret to happiness in life is finding something that you love to do and get somebody who's willing to pay you to do it. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, said Eleanor Roosevelt. And somewhere out there, someone's looking for exactly what you got. You got to find them. So simple ideas for you to think about this summer. Manners. They're really important. Neatness, really important. I was on Southwest Airlines. I took the 6 o'clock flight from Boston this morning, and I cut this out. 83% of HR managers judge you by the state of your desk. So you keep your room sloppy, and you're not in the habit of doing things neatly yet, trust me, when you get in the business world, you'll learn very, very fast. Manners and neatness. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. People from the South don't have that problem. Some of us up in the North have that challenge. I talked about setting some objectives and getting a partner to be able to keep you hold to them. And as you get older in life, you need to develop what I call the notebook. I had a couple of buddies get on a plane on September the 11th a few years ago. They never made it home. Neither one of them had the notebook. By the notebook, I'm talking about in one place, in one file, have something where you have your insurance policies, your will, your investment certificates, your bank accounts, everything that you need for somebody to handle. So should tragedy strike you and your significant other at the same time, and you've got kids, that somebody can just go to one file and take care of it. The portfolio we talked about, follow through, it's really important. Communicate clearly, I talked a lot about that, and it's kind of funny when I talk to kids and high school kids about their manners and behavior. A lot of times the kids are wearing their pants around their bottom, halfway down their butt, and I say, dude, trust me, pull up your pants, because if your mommy's still driving to school, you ain't no gangster. All right? Only invest what you can afford to lose. Think about the lottery and that kind of stuff. Act like you've got 10% than what you've got. Start now to save, and it'll make a difference in your life, and find ways to be able to conservatively invest it. Give back. One of my favorite places, anybody from Boston? Any Red Sox fans here? Storrow Drive, my favorite intersection. Going up Storrow Drive, and you come to the stop sign, you want to get on the Mass Pike, Doubletree Hotel right there. When you come up to that stoplight, invariably, there's a homeless person there. If it's a summertime or a rush hour or whatever. And so many people tap on the windshield, look the other way, try to avoid eye contact, hope that the light turns green. How about you get out of your car, pull a $5 bill or a buck, whatever you can afford out of your pocket, walk over and introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Chris. What's your name? Joshua? Nice to meet you, sir. God bless you. You got hope today. And get back in your car and go. Trust me, if you do that and make that a part of who you are, your soul will feel like it's just gone through a car wash. You ever notice how your car runs better after it's been through the car wash? Your soul and your mind is the same way. Be nice to the people that you meet on the way up, because you never know who you're going to run to on the way down. I talk about make amends, love and forgive. One of my favorite movies, Home Alone, right? Home Alone, I love it. So remember Kevin, he's the old man, the South Bend slasher next door, right? And he's got this, and Buzz is telling him all the things that he murdered and put him in. That's where he keeps the mummies. And then remember Kevin does some stuff and he ends up in church on that night. And he looks back and all of a sudden across him is the old guy there with his little white shirt and his tie on. The guy looks around and sees Kevin's alone and he walks up to him and Kevin's all afraid. May I sit down? Sure. And then they end up having a conversation. And then Kevin starts to ask him about his situation, why he's there. Because he's not welcome the night of the real concert because he doesn't talk to his son. And he hasn't talked to him for about 10 years because they said something that they haven't forgiven each other for. And then, so then Kevin says, well, why don't you talk to your son? Well, what if he doesn't talk to me? He said, well, then at least you'll know. And then it's like, well, at least you know. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the movie, remember, they're hugging because he finally talked to his son. Don't carry it around. Life is too short. Don't carry that baggage. Make amends and move on. And I guess the final thing I just want to tell you is keep your higher power as your CEO. That world out there that you're going to embark on is very, very challenging. And it requires a balance. I've never read on a tombstone, I wish I spent more time at the office. Keep a balance in your life and insist that others do the same. I think about, again, if you can dream it, you can live it. Anybody recognize some of these people here? The guy in the top right is Danny Woodhead. Anybody know who he is? Running back for the New England Patriots. Anybody know how tall he is? 5'7", 5'8". Anybody know what he went to school? Was it UCLA, Alabama, LSU? No, he went to Chacon State, Division III in Nebraska. He wanted to be a pro football player. Doug Flutie, 5'0", wanted to set all kinds of records up in Canada, undrafted here in the States, then played some time in the NFL. Anybody recognize the little guy here? Muggsy Bogues, 5'3", from Baltimore, ended up being an all-star in the NBA. How about the guy in the bottom right-hand corner? Jim Abbott. Pitched a no-hitter for the New York Yankees, won almost 100 games with one hand. So John Wooden said, don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do, all right? You can do it. You can find ways. We can all overcome challenges in our life. So I want to just wrap up with this. I got an email from a gentleman who's here tonight, my good friend John Gasky, who was here at Notre Dame when I was, and we kept in touch over the years. And so the boys, kind of an email list of guys and stuff. And so one night he sent an email. He said, I don't know if you guys remember Stump. He tended bar at Corby's, but he's got Lou Gehrig's disease. And he's got a website and he's trying to raise some money. Stump, Corby's. I knew Corby's. Yeah, the little guy, bib overalls. So I went to his website and I started looking at it. Everybody knows the story of Rudy, right? So Rudy got into a game for 15 seconds, has made a great life and living doing it, and deservedly so. It's a great story. Jimmy from Gary, Indiana, I started reading about it. I was like, what? 5'6" inches tall, went to Andrean High School, in his high school Hall of Fame in 2 sports, lettered 9 letters in high school. Like Rudy, only wanted to go to Notre Dame. Applied, rejected. Applied again, rejected. Applied a 3rd time, rejected. Finally went before the admissions board, got in on a probationary basis, walked on to the golf team with 6 returning lettermen, started all 4 years, monogrammed all 4 years, set the course record at 64, that still stands, set the tournament record at 18 under, that still stands, and his life got more amazing from there. So I sent a nice donation to his website and a speech I wrote for high school kids as kind of inspiration, because he had his top 10 tips for living life, and I have mine. And he bounced me back. He said, Hawk, my nickname, Hawk, I read what you wrote. We think exactly alike. You got to write my life story. What? I read what you think alike. I've talked to Mitch Albom, to Aziz Lamori. He can't do it. John Feinstein, caddy for life. He can't do it. God's put you in my life for a reason. You got to write my life story. I said, Jimmy, you can't play the God card. So I figured I had lost my wife to cancer the year before, and both my brothers to a disease called Huntington's disease, which is genetic neuromuscular. If you get the disease, you get the gene, you die. We were foster kids, so we didn't know our mother had Huntington. So I was looking for some way to be able to maybe kind of process the grief for my kids and me. So I thought, okay. So I ended up writing a book. It's on Amazon.com at the indie bookstore. 100% of all the proceeds go to ALS. I'm trying to raise $1 million. He set a goal before he passed away. He raised about $350,000. And he had a philosophy that I've really learned from. I'm now actually on the board of ALS, and I was doing a speech last night and pretty committed to it. His philosophy was whatever you give, you get back twice in return. And when you get out of your car and you do something nice for a homeless person, when you say hi to the troops who are walking through the airport and thank them for their service, trust me, you will get back twice in your heart what you give out. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks. So as I said, I know the mind can only absorb what the rear end can endure, and you all have had a long semester, and it's been a great experience for me. I'd be happy to entertain any quick questions. I don't know how much longer we have here, but if you got any questions, I'd be happy to take them. I'm really impressed with your work. Think about what you just achieved in this class. Think about how you collaborated with people maybe that you wouldn't have collaborated with before. Think about how you were able to come up with ideas and challenge each other and maybe sometimes give in because the other person's idea might have been a little bit better. Think about the communication skills that you developed, not just the analytical skills. Take that forward. My email address is chris, C-H-R-I-S, @Keurig.com. I'll help you any way I can. I'll respond to every email or call I get. If I can ever help you in your path and your journey in life, I'd be proud to. God bless. See, I didn't see anybody flinching. Like, so we got 3 brewers here we're going to give away. If anybody's on a D1 scholarship, you're excluded. I don't want to get the university in trouble. So let's see. Dr. Gasky, would you be so kind? I'm going to do 3, so you can pull up another one. 763-515. 76351. You got it? Come on down. Thanks. All right, 763-178. Talk to me. Oh, yeah. Both those people are in Dr. Gasky's marketing class, I just found out.
For the right price.
763-078. 763-078. Mark, sure. You got it? All right. So I got to get a... Quick picture? You doing... Oh, thanks. It's all about the branding, folks. Does that have Photoshop on it? They're getting ready to turn me down and put a parking lot in my place. Okay, good. So, congratulations. I'm Chris.
Hi.
Thanks. See you guys. Have fun.
Again, if we can just thank Chris Stevens for his time. Really, I thought his message was perfect. The idea of foresight in business society is really about your future. On behalf of Professor Miller, Professor Cachot, Professor Balco, myself, thank you for all of your hard work this semester. Have a great summer.